QuaranJazz. Listen while you're home. Hello and welcome to the 25th episode of QuaranJazz, your weekly update on what jazz musicians from all over the world are doing during the year of 2020. QuaranJazz has been covering the pandemic since its early days. Our guests brought up stories from the scary first measures of social distancing. Since then, a lot has changed for many people. Well, not yet for me. I'm still confined. But it's very nice to know that step by step, many activities are returning, including music concerts. And QuaranJazz stayed with you, presenting testimonials from musicians that are coming back to normal, or at least to the new normal. I'm Joie Fernandes, singer-songwriter and music researcher from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. If you'd like to know more about my work, visit my website, joisafernandes.com. If you are a jazz musician and would like to share your stories here in the show, fill out the contact form and let's talk. If you liked the show and would care for regular similar content, I would suggest my mailing list. Guess where the link is? In the description of this episode. And the same goes for the link of the playlist on Spotify with all the tracks presented during QuaranJazz episodes. I'm talking about QuaranJazz, the playlist.
No talk, all jazz.
Want a taste from this week's update on QuaranJazz, the playlist? You got it. Pretty amazing, isn't it? And today, we're gonna learn more about this incredible musician Now let me tell you people the story of how I heard him for the first time. I love Manouche Jazz, and I was listening to a playlist on YouTube. One of the suggested videos was from my guest. It was the version of a George Michael song, if I am not mistaken. I said, wow, what the heck is this? Oh, but it's nice. I like the song. I like the version. The guy is cute. Okay, and I kept on listening, and one video after another. After a while, I was a fan. Little did I know by then that some years later I would be welcoming him here in QuaranJazz, guitarist and composer Dario Napoli. Ciao Dario! As usual here in QuaranJazz, I will ask you to start by introducing yourself to our listeners, telling your story, your background, and describing the music that you do.
Hello, dear friends of QuaranJazz. Thank you so much, Jeza, for inviting me to the show. My name is Dario Napoli, and I was born in Sicily, now based in Milan, but I've been, I suppose, lucky enough in life to have lived in many places. In fact, I was born in Sicily, and then basically until I was about 12, I was based in several countries. My father's job was forcing him to move, and so I got to live in Iran, although I remember very little, Argentina, Colombia, United States and Canada, and then France. And then after France, we finally got to Milan. I was there basically for the years of high school, and then decided to go to college to the US. At the time, I was also, besides playing music, I was playing tennis at a decent level. So I played college tennis and also did jazz guitar and journalism in college. So in New Orleans. So I was very happy to go to New Orleans, where jazz was born at the time. I was obviously very interested in learning about jazz and figured why not go to its birthplace. And later I sort of did the same when I fell in love with Django's music around 2003 or so. And I ended up traveling often to France, then Holland and Germany, where a lot of the Sintis reside. So had a chance to make a lot of friends from that community and was able to visit many times, wanting to learn and desiring to learn directly from them, besides listening to the records, of course. And that has proved invaluable over the years, especially now that I'm also teaching. I have a chance to kind of pass on what I learned from the gypsies. I began playing music around the age of, I kind of started at 8, but then I quit right away. Then I kind of more seriously got back into it around 12, 13. And my first love was blues. You know, Eric Clapton. I went to an Eric Clapton concert with my brother. I really didn't want to go at first because my brother's a couple years older and all his friends were a little bit older and typically were picking on me a little bit. So at first I was a bit not really willing to go, but was the best thing I probably ever did, or one of the best things. The emotion and the excitement and the inspiration was such that I basically made that commitment with myself that I would really endure any kind of pain or adversity to learn. It was like a marriage at that point. So from the next day on, I got my 50,000 lira, which is about 25 euro guitar, classical beat up guitar, and started really working on transcribing basically by ear, or trying to figure out what was going on by ear. There was no YouTube at the time. There was nothing. It was just basically the tape recorder and rewind. I think in retrospect that proved to be one of the best decisions, because it really strongly developed my ear, or at least I tend to believe that it really helped in developing a strong ear and memory. And although I wasn't getting everything, let's just say, correct on guitar, I was kind of finding my own way at the same time. So after about 3 years of that, I finally decided I needed some help and got to a teacher. And this teacher, at that point I was kind of into, blues, rock. I was into a little bit of heavy metal, but Satriani, Steve Vai, these kind of players were really inspiring me. And this teacher kind of gently nudged me towards jazz, which at first was a bit of a stretch for me. I just didn't quite understand the language. It just felt a little bit dissonant to me for the most part. But then slowly, by listening to George Benson and Wes Montgomery and tons of others, Jimmy Rainey, just a lot of guitarists, Jim Hall, of course, Pat Metheny, and all those guys, I slowly fell in love with this music. And of course, Charlie Parker and many other instrumentalists. And that prompted me, around 16 or so, to think about moving to the US and studying there, which is what I did. Once I turned 18, I had this tennis scholarship, and then I was able to get the music going, the music scholarship with it, and then I was basically playing tennis and music, and then doing journalism as a minor, and that's how I got into really playing with other people. And I thought the US was a great place to learn. They just simply seemed to understand the value of practice and playing with others and learning by ear as well as theory, not only theory. And then yes, right around 2000 2002, 2003, I was exposed to a DVD, the Pirelli Lagren concert in Vienna, and that was like a revolution for me. It was because I had heard, of course, of Django, and I heard Django before, but the recording quality was always a bit of a problem for me, I guess, instinctively. So I always, preferred other music at the time. But then after seeing that concert and understanding the lineage, and I started getting back into Django, and from then on, it was basically the main music that I've been learning and perfecting. Still am, of course. And with my trio, the Dario Napoli Modern Manouche Project, our goal is to blend those Western influences and more modern influence with a total respect and devotion to Django's music.
And how has been this year so far for you? Since the crisis exploded, what you've been doing?
Well, basically this year in January with my Dario Napoli Modern Manouche Project, we released our fourth album called Vivre, and I had set up an incredible tour, which luckily we were able to complete. It was a Northern European tour, CD presentation tour, which we started in Northern Italy and circled all the way back around after then playing in Switzerland, France at the Duc de Lombard. We played the Django Folie Festival in Belgium. We played in Holland with Paulus Schaefer, great gypsy legend and friend now. And then we moved on to playing at the Victoria Theater in Malmo. We played Jazz Club Divido in Copenhagen, and then we played in Poland at the Free Blues Club, and then circled our way back around to Italy. And the week before the lockdown, we basically ended our tour with a central Italian tour around Rome and Tuscany. So we were really on a high, and I had obviously a few Jazz Festival Piacenza lined up in March. But essentially, we were really excited to have really completed an amazing experience, an amazing tour that was, I would say, successful in every possible way. And and then of course the lockdown hit, and I ended up going to Colombia for the lockdown. We barely managed to leave, my brother, myself, and my mother, because my father lives there. But that's another story, I suppose. But yeah, the fourth CD has been just a beautiful experience. We have our new bass player is Tonino De Sensi, a true legend here in the Italian jazz network. I used to actually go see him play when I was a teenager. He was already playing with the biggest names here in Milan, and I was kind of getting into the music, and so the music scene was really strong at the time. I was able to get a lot of inspiration from that. And then after our third CD, basically our bass player at the time had to move on to other things. He was expecting a kid and everything, and it was incredible, the experience, because last year, at this point it was 2018, I suppose, we had another tour lined up in Northern Europe, but I didn't have a bass player, and the tour was amazing. It was like Django Amsterdam at the BIM House and other really good concerts, but it was like incredible. I didn't have a bass player, and it was very hard to find. Also because with my project, the bass player is much more than just a rhythm player. Basically, I kind of have it designed where the bass player is the second soloist, so we play solos and we play lines together, and there's just tends to be quite a bit of stuff to memorize and to be able to execute. So I tried a few, of course, and it was just very difficult to find the right one. So essentially, basically, just a few weeks before the tour, I was able to get in contact with Tonino after a suggestion, because I hadn't really thought about him, just because I thought he was in a different age, and just kind of looked up to him in a way that didn't just occur to me. But then once I contacted him, I've realized it was a great idea. He was kind of looking forward to stuff like that, and obviously learned the material relatively quickly. And playing at the BIM House in Amsterdam was definitely a great incentive, well, for all of us. And from then on, it's been amazing. I mean, basically, I was able to have the team, the trio that I've always kind of dreamed of, being able to play modern things as well as older things. Everybody being able to play solos and relatively complicated parts, but also with total respect to the music of Django. And so that's what prompted us to make our fourth CD, Joie de Vivre, which we recorded in the Netherlands at Energy Studio, where a lot of the gypsies record, and where they really know the sound and they know the instruments. And we recorded it while on tour last year in 2 days, so that was also a a moment of pride for us to be able to record everything, really for the most part, all first, second takes. And so it's as genuine and as live as it can be. Obviously, you can find it at darionapoli.com or on all the famous portals, which we all are aware of. And yeah, so we were planning, well, we still had in our horizon to tour basically the summer. We had some stuff set up in Cyprus, we had some concerts in Turkey, festivals, but at this point we're on hold for some of the events, and some of them have been canceled. So either way, we're going to try to pick up where we left off as soon as it will be possible to finish presenting Joie de Vivre and to make the best out of the album release.
All right. Now let's go back to the Colombian connection part. How was it?
So Italy, as we all know, has been one of the countries hardest hit, and that's what prompted me and my family in March to try to reach my father in Colombia, which we partially did because my father's based in Bogota, but we ended up landing in Medellin, and then during the quarantine the country closed down, so then we were never really able to reunite with my father. But gave us a chance to experience a new country in a way, because of course the country was partly on lockdown for some of the time that I was there, and then things kind of freed up a little bit, and then right when I left things tightened up again. But anyway, in essence I was, obviously I went with my guitar, and I was able to basically keep practicing, writing, and also teaching on Skype. So a lot of my activities actually didn't change so much. Of course, what changed was the annihilation of the whole live situation, or opportunities, of course, for everyone. Kind of dwindled. So, but Medellin was a beautiful discovery. Well, first of all, the weather is incredible. The place is very beautiful, and of course, we experienced it during, like I said, a time that wasn't so common. But I felt very safe there, and it just was a great experience overall. Besides that, after a couple of months, a mutual friend of mine on Instagram, a guy who lives in Argentina, realized I was in Colombia, and he said, "Hey man, I know some players there that play gypsy jazz, and I know some musicians, and while you're there, why not get in touch with them?" And of course, that was a beautiful thing. I hadn't really thought of it. Just amidst of all the problems and all the worries and everything, I was kind of just in my own little world with my family. But I reached out to a gentleman by the name of Ludovic, who also runs a festival, and who actually invited me for this festival in September, although I think they're probably going to have to postpone it. But in essence, made friends with Ludovic and a lot of his colleagues and friends. Just wonderful people, wonderful just environment, very, very, very welcoming, amazing musicians. So we got to actually get together after things loosened up a bit, and jam, and just get together and get to know each other and share the music. So that was a huge addition to the whole experience of Medellin. On top of it, and during that time, they kind of loosened up the lockdown and everything, so I could actually explore, and I did actually explore quite a bit. I would take like 3-4 hour walks every day through some incredible neighborhoods. I mean, you can just see Medellin is basically a jungle, a city in a jungle. And then also on one of these walks, I was able to meet another musician, not in the gypsy jazz style. He's a bass player as well, but he's a maracas player. Raymond is his name, and just talking over some in my case water, because I don't drink alcohol anymore. We discovered we were both musicians, so he kind of set up a jam session at first, and then we started kind of looking into a repertoire, but really just to practice together and have fun. And that was also amazing. And this was all in a hostel where he worked in Medellin, which was kind of half closed, I would say. But it was myself, him on the maracas, and a young bass player. And actually one time I was able to invite all the guys, the gypsy jazz guys, so it was kind of a mix of music, sort of just scratching the surface of the possibilities. But yeah, I'm definitely hoping to go back to Medellin again. September doesn't seem likely, but if it's not this September, Ludovic was kind enough to basically promise promise an invitation to the festival. So I'm really excited about that. Just about hopefully being back there in a time where life is, so to speak, normal. But yeah, basically for me, quarantine or this period was all about really practice. I spent even more than what I usually do because I'm a bit of a practice-aholic, if you will. I really like to practice and write, and I'm always on my instrument every day. So this just gave me more time to do that, especially in the first part. And enjoy the weather. The weather there, I mean, they call it the city of eternal spring, and it's true. Every day it's beautiful weather. We actually found a B&B that had some outdoor space with a swimming pool, so we weren't like rats in a lab. And just incredibly welcoming and friendly people I met overall, both from musicians and non-musicians. So that was my experience. At some point in mid-July, I was able to find a repatriation flight, and so here I am back. And now it's I haven't gotten too much work, but the work I have gotten has been very nice. I've been playing. Well, I played in France a festival with Joie, a violinist from Switzerland, and I will actually be playing with him again in the next few weeks, months. Everything is in Switzerland, which luckily is very close. As in Italy, it's really everything is at the moment at a standstill. Very excited about this collaboration with Baiju. We run a camp together and we do beautiful concerts there in the Lausanne area. So that's what's going to be up for me in the immediate next few weeks, and hopefully we'll kind of see what happens from 2021 forward. It'll be interesting to see. But I've noticed that my love for the music and for the instrument has never wavered despite everything. So that gives me a lot of hope and a lot of encouragement, seeing that I'm still committed 100% to the music, and so are my closest buddies and colleagues.
Wow, so let me get it right. You got an invitation to a jazz festival while doing quarantine. That's what I call making a lemonade out of the lemons that 2020 is throwing at our faces. Wonderful. And I imagine you had to adapt also a little bit the way you work. Any changes concerning the way you work, for instance, with your students in your classes?
Well, kind of forced to push the whole teaching side of things, which I've always been doing. So I got a few more students online, and I started to do a regular video video workshop, weekly video workshop, which helped me get a few more students. And really, yeah, it's kind of uncertain what the future is going to hold, but on my end, I still push forward sort of as if everything is going to go back to normal. At least I hope and sort of expect things to. I mean, if they don't, then I'll cross that bridge. But as of now, I'm still practicing several hours a day, teaching, writing, and really getting ready for those concerts that are confirmed that we do have. Yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see how everything develops. But from my end, I just kind of behave as if nothing happened, at least from the musical standpoint.
That's the spirit, yes. Now let's talk about your tracks. At the beginning of this episode, we got a taste from Joie de Vivre. I would like you to talk a little bit about this track and also about the second one, about the track that you've selected for us to listen in full.
So Joie de Vivre is the title track of the album, the last album of my solo project, Dario Napoli, Modern Manouche Project. I wrote the very bulk of this on the crossing from Italy to Sicily, from the Strait of Messina on the ferry. I was crossing through, and it had been quite a while that I was missing. I have a lot of family in Sicily, and I hadn't been in a long time, and so I was just quite excited a couple years ago, quite excited to be making my way to Sicily, and it was a beautiful day, and I was on this ferry, and this melody just kind of jumped to me. So I recorded it, really whistled the main melody into my phone, and as soon as I got my hands on a guitar, then I kind of developed the whole thing. Yeah, that's the story. Joie de vivre, happiness of living, joy of living. There's times when, thankfully, I suppose we all get to experience that. So the song you're about to hear is called Masks. It's a song I wrote way before any lockdown or any coronavirus, so there's no correlation to the times we're living in. And Masks sort of relates to the idea that we're capable of, wearing or adopting different personalities based on the situation that we might be in socially. And I've always been very curious about this topic as a kid, where obviously it seems like we all have certain predispositions or a tendency to be in a certain way or to give certain personalities more importance than others. But I've always been very curious about the fact that we're also able to sort of transform and have basically every type of personality within us dormant, I would say, and then, potentially it can come out. But then, instinctively we all tend to categorize people as, he's shy, or he's alpha, or he's aggressive, or he's a nice person, or he's not a nice person, blah, blah, blah. And at the same time, experiences showed me that we're pretty much, it seems to me, capable of being anyone and any, kind of personality possible, really, given the circumstance. And that whole aspect has always intrigued me. So that's why the title Masks. I mean, musically, it's I would describe it as a bit of a fugue. It has a classical fugue feel to it in A minor, where it's sort of that initially classical line played along with Tonino on bass. So it's a unison, and then I go on another on a second part, which is also obbligato, we say in Italian, so it's written, I would say. And then of course there's room for solos, but it has that sort of up-tempo minor fugue feel to it. And it's curious because I wrote, sometimes songs take a while and you kind of labor through it, and at some point maybe accept whatever version you happen to be happy with, and other times things just flow. And this Masks was really an example of that, where the theme just came to me really in a matter of maybe 10-15 minutes. I tweaked a few things, but really I would say 90% of the whole melody was done very, very quickly. The chords just kind of were pretty simple and obvious once the melody was down, and then it was just a matter of writing it down, sending it to Tonino, and then rehearsing it a little bit, and then recording it. For whatever reason, it's the song that I'm picking this song because it seems to be the song that most people relate to, or I get more feedback about. Whenever people have listened to the album and get back to me, it seems like it's the tune that sticks out the most. To my surprise, honestly, I wasn't expecting that, and it's the second song on the album, and for whatever reason, it seems to be striking more of a appreciation, to whoever listens to it amongst the other songs. So hope you enjoy it. Masks.
It's a great name, yes, and now it certainly works in so many ways, including the ones you mentioned. I'm always thinking about the role of the family on it. Sometimes I think that the family is the first label maker that we have to face in life. Anyway, we will certainly enjoy it. Grazie, Dario, grazie. Thank you very, very much for your participation, Dario. It was really lots of fun. Thanks a lot. And thank you, dear listener, for staying with us. This was the 25th episode of QuaranJazz. I'm Geisa Fernandes, singer, songwriter, and music researcher from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. As you know, you can drop me a line if you'd like to tell your story here in QuaranJazz. Visit my website, geisafernandes.com, and fill out the contact form. You can also become part of my mailing list. The links are in the description of this episode. You can also join the Facebook group The Touring Jazz Musician and find out more about jazz festivals with open submission processes. The Touring Jazz Musician on Facebook. Oh, and one more thing. Tomorrow is the birthday of Professor John A. Land, founder and editor of the International Journal of Comic Art. Since my PhD, Professor John A. Land has been my mentor, not only in university affairs, but also in life. I wish him the very best, many coming adventures in research, and I would like him to know that I admire him immensely. Thank you for everything, Professor, and happy birthday! Dear listener, it is time to bid you farewell. Till next week. And now, ladies and gents, masks. QuaranJazz. Listen while you're home. QuaranJazz, a podcast by Geisa Fernandes.